It has recently been disclosed, folks, that a local law enforcement agent or officer that was part of an agency brought in by the United States Secret Service to help with security at the former President Donald Trump's rally in Butler, Pennsylvania on Saturday, actually came face to face with the gunman who attempted to assassinate the former president yesterday afternoon. And rather than neutralize the shooter, or even apparently, and I'm saying apparently because the information that's come out so far is being reported by the Associated Press on conditions of anonymity, but apparently a law enforcement source in Butler, Pennsylvania, has told the Associated Press that a local officer did climb to the roof of the building where the shooter was perched, came face to face with the shooter, and, as being reported, because the shooter pointed his rifle at law enforcement backed up and went back down the ladder from the roof of the building. So my question has to be, one, the FBI needs to immediately confirm this information as being accurate and genuine, or immediately acknowledge that it's not accurate. But it needs to be confirmed, and it needs to be made public openly, honestly, and transparently. If this report is in fact accurate and correct, then you have a 50-year-old father of 2 daughters who is dead tonight after he shielded his daughters and his wife to protect them from being injured from a bullet that was meant for the head of the former president of the United States, Donald J. Trump. And you have 2 others who are now in stable condition, but originally were in critical condition, wounded and injured, in addition to President Trump's wounds, that had this law enforcement officer immediately got on his radio and radioed that he was on top of this roof with a gunman pointing an AR-15 style rifle at him, preparing to shoot at the former president. You have to imagine that the Secret Service snipers would have taken this kid out before he ever had a chance to turn around and start firing. But apparently this local law enforcement officer did not get on his radio and did not do what he should have done. And anyone who followed the Uvalde school shooting in Uvalde, Texas, recently the former Uvalde police chief, or school police chief, to be honest with you, I can't remember which it is right now, was recently charged criminally, in addition to another officer. And they're still deciding whether or not they are going to seek indictments against other law enforcement agents for failing to follow protocol, for failing to do their job, for sitting back and waiting for absolutely no reason other than they simply did not want to confront the kid in Uvalde. This officer, and I'm not advocating that this officer's identity be made public, simply because with the rhetoric on both sides that has taken place, I just wouldn't demand that. But the law enforcement agency needs to come forward and acknowledge if in fact this information is correct, and assure the public and those that were at the rally that this officer has been removed from his position, because you can say, justify it any way you want. Law enforcement have radios that they can get on without even having to use their hands to do it. This officer could have alerted other law enforcement at this rally, outside of the secured venue as well as inside the secured venue, that there was a sniper preparing to shoot at the former president on top of that roof, and that kid would have been taken out before you had an innocent man killed and you had 3 other innocent individuals injured. I'm not going to apologize. Secretary Mayorkas, you need to get in front of this, and you need to make this known publicly. If it's true, then someone needs to be held accountable. And if this officer is determined to actually be an anti-Trump officer, then you have to ask the question, was his lack of doing his job a result of his own dislike and prejudice towards the former president of the United States? And if that's the case, then this officer needs to be charged with murder, because it was his actions that led a man to lose his life. Pure and simple. And in closing on this video, I'm going to say something. George Stephanopoulos, Martha Raddatz, Walt Disney Company, today is the day that you need to immediately remove George Stephanopoulos and Martha Raddatz from ABC News, from any ABC broadcast. Actually remove them from employment with the Disney Company, period. Because today, both of them, after a former president was almost assassinated, not even 24 hours earlier, both of these seasoned journalists go on ABC this week, less than 24 hours after the assassination attempt, and blatantly lie. Martha Raddatz claiming that Donald Trump engaged in violent rhetoric, stating that there would be a bloodbath in this country if he was not elected, was a bold-faced lie. It was presented completely in false context. The statement she's referring to was made at a campaign rally where he was speaking before United Auto Workers union members. And he was referencing that the auto industry would suffer a bloodbath in the event that Joe Biden was reelected in November. Disney, ABC News, you need to take action, and you need to do it now. Journalists have engaged in this false premise of promoting and reporting all of this so-called violent threat rhetoric, and yet I don't hear any of you talking about the violent rhetoric from the left, from the Biden campaign social media trolls, or from Biden and his campaign himself. You know, it's funny. In 2008, when Sarah Palin made a reference to crosshairs and Barack Obama, the media went off the wall. You accused her of inciting someone to actually assassinate Barack Obama before he was even the nominated candidate, or actually shortly after he was. and yet you have a sitting president and his vice president and his campaign saying that Donald Trump needs to be put in the bullseye. But you can't report that. Sorry, folks. You, ABC News, CNN, MSNBC, CBS, all the print media, Politico, whatever the new Ben Smith feed is, all of you guys are doing this. Do you not have any ethics or integrity anymore?